everybody, this is Bogus Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on McFarlane Toys Kickstarter Classic Spawn Remastered figure. So before we take a look at Spawn, let's take a look at the accessories that he comes with. He also comes with a few other things that I will show off first. So first up, you get this little comparison checklist. This is a paper that was packed in with Spawn. So let me get that in frame there. If you want to pause that to read that, go ahead. Now, this tells what the original version came with and what the new version comes with. You get the Spawn Remastered comic book, and I kept this in a plastic sleeve here. And I also have the original one here. So there you can see this is the original one, and this is the redone cover by McFarlane. And I have yet to read this. I need to go through and read it. But as you can see, the art is much better. Todd McFarlane has improved a lot as an artist since then, because this was in the 90s, and this is current. And yeah, you can definitely see how much his style has changed for the better. So first up, he comes with this base, and it says record setting, and it says 1994 to 2021. And this base looks really good. I love that Spawn logo there, but he doesn't need it. As you can see, the cape does touch the ground, so any way you pose him, he'll basically be standing, because he's leaning on his cape a little bit. So yeah, you do not need this stand, but I do appreciate McFarlane throwing this in. So the first set of hands that he comes with are these open hands, and these look pretty good. Up next, he comes with these hands with the holes in them for the Necro Energy effect. There he is with the Necro Energy effect attached to the right hand, and you can put it in the left or right hand. I just attached it to the right hand, and it looks really good. It's done in a translucent green plastic, and it's kind of dark there by his hand and kind of fades into that lighter color, and that looks really nice. Up next, he comes with the gripping hands for the rest of his weapons. There he has his Necro Dagger, and that looks really good. It's done in the same color as the Necro Energy effect. Up next, he comes with his Assault Rifle, and this thing looks really good. Tons of sculpt detail and even some nice paint. The silver on it looks really good, and there by the ammo clip and the handle for the grenade launcher, it has a wash of black over it, bringing out all the details really nicely. He can also hold it in both hands, which is a nice little bonus. He comes with his sword, and this thing is huge, but it's sculpted and painted really nicely. It has some intricate sculpt detail to the blade there. You can see the Spawn logo at the tip. You can see the Spawn eyes and skull down by the handle. And that green is painted really nicely, because when the light hits it, it looks like it's really glowing. That's the same sort of paint that they used on the Mortal Kombat Spawn. So this is hands down my favorite accessory to display Spawn with. It looks really nice, but it is pretty hefty, so it does weigh his hand down a little bit, because as you can see, it's a huge blade. So it does weigh his hand down. That's why I have him posed holding it in both hands for now. And finally, he includes an alternate Hamburger head sculpt. And this looks really good. The rotting skin looks really good. You can see they did some different colors of green inside his mouth. The dark green with the light green painted over top of it. You can see his skull showing through. And his eyes are done in that bright green color, so when light hits it a certain way, it looks like it's glowing. Now, this head is sculpted so that it's meant to be turned this way, but actually, if you put it down like that, it looks fine, and you can get him looking straight. So you really can't tell. So I'm really glad that you can do that with this head sculpt, because I really didn't want to leave it turned to the side there. But they did sculpt it so you can turn it this way, and it can be hidden by the cape, that little spot there. So taking a look at this head sculpt, McFarlane Toys did an incredible job on this. The sculpt detail to it is really nice. You can actually see his teeth showing through the mask a little bit. I thought that was a really nice attention to detail. And he also has some paint variation there on the white on his mask. It has a wash to it, which brings out those details really nicely. There's not a whole lot of details right here, but that wash definitely does bring them out. The paint detail to the cape is really good. It's cast in a light red colored plastic, but it has some dark red painted over top of it, that paint variation. You get some there on the shoulders and right up here. You also get some really nice texturing to it. That nice leather-like texture to it looks really good. There is the back of it, and you can see more of the shading, especially right there in the wrinkles. I think that the dark color variation is more concentrated here on the back. All of the sculpt detail to it, as well as the color, looks very good. And the skulls on the cape are done in a nice rusted metal color. And they have a real chain right here that connects them. So that's pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure this is the tarnished chain version, because the chain has a little bit of brown color to it like the skulls do, as do the chains down here. They kind of look a little rusted. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the tarnished chain version. So taking a look at the torso, this is what caused a lot of controversy when McFarlane decided to do this. He decided to make this torso one solid piece instead of having a soft shell joint, like The Witcher, both Batman Who Laughs, Joker, and I'm actually glad McFarlane changed this, because I will show why. So for example, here's Geralt from The Witcher, and he uses that soft shell, but when you crunch it forward, it does this. And I wouldn't have wanted Spawn to do that, because all of his muscles would have looked like that. You wouldn't have wanted his torso to do this. That would have just looked ugly when you're posing him around. And the way that McFarlane did it, he did a ball-jointed waist, and the articulation isn't hindered at all, which I will show more of that off when I go into the articulation, but I'm actually glad that McFarlane did change that, because I feel like using that soft joint with this just wouldn't have looked good, especially when crunching forward and moving side to side. It would have bunched up and looked awful. He also did this slight curvature to his torso here, and people were really annoyed by that. But if you're annoyed by that, you can straighten it up, you know, you don't have to have it like that. But I really don't mind it because it's really subtle. But he has some really nice shading in between his muscles here. That black collar over top of it looks really nice. And then you get some more of that shading down here on his forearms. And you get some silver to the spikes on his bicep right there, and some black paint over top of them. The spikes on both hands are painted really nicely, and you get a subtle black wash. I wish it would have been just a little bit darker like this color, but it is very subtle. As I mentioned, the skull looks really nice with the real chains that look tarnished. You get all of Spawn's pouches here. They're done in red with the buttons in gold. Get some more spikes down here on his shins, done in a red and silver color, and the silver kind of bled right here. So yeah, that could have been painted just a little bit better. And I forgot to point this out earlier, but on the arms, I really thought these were just single joints, because when I opened it, I think they blended this really well. It's a little more noticeable since my lights are on for the review, but without the lights on, this looks like one solid piece, and I think that looks really good with the articulation. And they even painted over top of these pins right here, so it makes it less noticeable. But on the right side here, the pin didn't get painted all the way. It could have used some more paint right there. I forgot to mention that earlier in this review. And then here are his feet with some more good sculpt detail, because you can actually tell each individual toe is right there. And of course, the cape can bend in like this. I'm glad this one does have the hinges, so you can actually swivel the cape back and forth. As you can see, there's some paint missing right here, but if you have it like this, you really don't notice. But it can bend back all the way. Let me get this out of the way. So yeah, it can bend back that far. So now let's go over Spawn's articulation. So as you can see, Spawn has a ball joint here in the head, and then he has one. It's not really a ball joint. Let me pop the head off. It's that sort of a joint. So he does have articulation at the neck and down in here because of that joint right there. So he can look up all the way. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side, which if you move this around, the neck will kind of shift, but you just have to hold your thumb there and move it back into place. So yeah, it can move all the way around as well. So the head is really nicely articulated. That's a really weird joint there. I haven't seen any joints like that before on any of the figures I have, but it works really nicely. He has ball-jointed shoulders that if you move that down, that butterfly joint just a little bit, you can get his shoulders moving out that far. And that is really the only place that the articulation is limited, is right up here by the shoulders. It would have been nice if they would have used a softer plastic for that. That way you could get his arms moving out a little more, because they will only move up this far. Which again, you can kind of move that joint down and move it up. But yeah, that is kind of hindered right there because of that cape. He also has a swivel at the bicep that can move side to side. He has a single jointed elbow that can bend in just about all the way, and it can also swivel side to side on top of the bicep joint right there. He has swivel at the wrist that can move side to side, and up and down. He has this ball-jointed torso, or ball-jointed waist, I should say, that can move forward all the way. You can get it bending back that far, or get it bending forward that far, and you can get him bending back just about all the way. And he can move side to side like this, and like that. And it can also move side to side this way. So yeah, I know a lot of people were disappointed that Todd changed that, but I really like that because I think it's really well articulated. He has ball-jointed hips that can do a complete split. He can kick forward all the way. Let's move his arm there. So yeah, he can kick up that far, and that's pretty good. I didn't figure he'd be able to do that. And he can kick back all the way. He has double-jointed knees that can do this. He can kick himself in the arm. So if you use the double-jointed knee to bend back like that with the cape, it can bend back just about all the way. If the cape wasn't there, it would move up just a little bit more. He has a swivel at the thigh, and then he has swivel right here underneath the pouches. He has swivel at the shin underneath these spikes. He has ball-jointed ankles that can move down all the way, up all the way, and spin all the way around. He has toe articulation that can move up all the way, and that's it. So the articulation is a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought it might be a little bit hindered, but it ended up being really good. I also forgot to mention during the review that originally the cape was supposed to be removable, but wasn't. And I thought that would bother me, but it really doesn't, because the last few Spawn figures we've gotten haven't had removable capes either, and that really hasn't bothered me. I did mod one out to have a removable cape, but yeah, this one doesn't bother me because it looks really nice. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So first up, here he is next to the Spawn that started it all, the Series 1 Classic Spawn figure. And this is the redone version of it, of course. So yeah, McFarlane Toys has came such a long way. There he is next to the Hamburger head variant. Here he is next to the Series 1 Clown, which I really hope he gets a redo soon. Which I believe there was a leaked listing that said there is a new clown figure coming up, so that'll be really awesome. Here he is next to the big bendable Violator figure, and this is also a figure that's getting an update very soon. There he is next to the deluxe box Spawn figure with the huge cape. Here he is next to, I want to say, the Series 20 Malbolgia figure, which this is still my favorite Malbolgia figure. It would be nice to see him get an update soon. That would be pretty awesome because the articulation on this one is pretty limited. Here he is next to the Mortal Kombat Spawn figure with the sword. Here he is next to my Spawn that I modded out with the removable fabric bendy wire cape. And the cape that I made for it is really big and exaggerated like it is in the comic. So I did have to kind of roll it up a little bit to fit it on my review station with this Spawn figure. Here he is next to Cygor, and this is my hands-down favorite Cygor figure. The Royal Tin one is nice, but this one, of course, has that removable chest plate with the cybernetic monkey inside. Here he is next to the Detective Comics 1000 DC Multiverse Batman figure. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Retro Spider-Man figure. Here he is next to the 1000 Toys Hellboy figure. And finally, there he is next to the Pit Build-A-Figure. So overall, this is my favorite McFarlane Toys Spawn figure. The articulation, paint detail, and sculpt detail is insane to it. And he comes with a pretty good bit of accessories. So yeah, this is a really awesome figure, and I hope that everyone was able to get one, because the aftermarket prices on these figures, because there were 3 different versions, are crazy. So hopefully everyone was able to get the one that they wanted. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.